Immigration issues have been an issue in our country ever since the first non-Puritans came to the eastern coast. And growing up in the Southwest, I knew the plight of Mexican Americans who were migrant workers who were treated as second-class citizens by white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Most of the icons that I have painted during my career have been icons people have commissioned. I've had to support myself with whatever money I could sell the icon for. But Cesar Chavez was someone I painted simply because I felt he needed to be painted. He and his family were evicted from their home when he was 10 years old because they couldn't pay the bills. He lived as a migrant worker as a child. He knew the plight of the poorest of the laboring poor in our country. Migrant workers earned less than half of any other laborer in the United States for the same amount of hard work. They had no rights, they had no unions, they worked with pesticides. They often worked bent over at the waist with very short-handled tools, causing great pain and even damage to their bodies. His own experience as a poor child and as somebody who was oppressed, as he grew older, instead of leading to bitterness and resentfulness, led to a sense of compassion where he understood what others were going through because he had suffered it himself, and the desire to do something for them to make their life better. In the Gospels, we hear Jesus saying, "Greater love than this no one has, that he should lay down his life for his friends." This man gave the rest of his life, from his teenage years on, to those who shared the poverty that he had grown up in. At first, he worked in order to get people to register to vote, people who had a right to vote but didn't vote because they didn't understand the laws or because they were kept away from polls. He worked with opposing police brutality towards Mexican Americans. He worked to bring justice for immigrants coming from Mexico and South America. After working with these other issues of poverty, he moved into the field of union organizing for farm workers and spent the last decades of his life with the United Farm Workers Movement trying to get decent working conditions and decent salaries for people who work to put food on our tables. In that fight, he used the documents of this country of which he was a citizen, including the Constitution of the United States, and using these as a reminding us of the ideals we ourselves said we espoused, said, be true to yourselves. This is what you have said. We too have these rights. He wears the colors of the United Farm Workers flag, and yet, like every human organization, I knew in time even the United Farm Workers could become a very corrupt institution. It's a possibility. So trying to downplay the union, but put some recognition of the union there. His strength came from his compassion and from his deep Catholic Mexican roots. He found ways as a pacifist to resist evil, to resist violence. Leaders of the union were killed. He himself, in his poverty as a union organizer, often had to turn to the farm laborers and ask them for food for his own family because he didn't have enough money for his children or food for his children. When he died, 35,000 people marched in a procession 3 miles long behind his simple wood casket. This is the example of holiness that I hope this image would describe.